Guy Penrod was at the peak of his solo career, performing 2 sold-out crowds and inspiring millions with his powerful voice, when something stopped him dead in his tracks. It wasn't a burnout, and it certainly wasn't a scandal. Instead, it was his own body delivering an urgent message he could no longer push aside. The gospel legend had to undergo emergency heart surgery, a moment that forced him to cancel 4 major concerts and left fans everywhere worried about his future. But this story isn't simply about a singer dealing with a health crisis. It's also about what happens when a person who has spent an entire lifetime being the strong one is suddenly faced with vulnerability, and the surprising lessons his journey teaches us about success, faith, and the hidden price we pay when we ignore the warning signs our bodies try to give us. Picture this. You are at the top of your game. Your voice is considered one of the most remarkable instruments in gospel music. Fans travel thousands of miles just to hear you sing. Then one ordinary day during what should be a routine event, you feel it's a heaviness in your chest, a persistent pain that refuses to go away. And in that single moment, everything shifts. But that is exactly what happened to Guy Penrod. And the decision he made next is one most performers would never have the courage to choose. He canceled 4 sold-out solo concerts, stepped away from the stage, and prioritized something many artists struggle to even acknowledge: his own health. But here's the part most people miss. The surgery wasn't only about fixing a physical issue. It is about facing a truth nearly everyone in the spotlight encounters but rarely admits. Your body will eventually force you to stop if you refuse to listen to the warning signs. To fully understand the weight of this moment, you need to understand who Guy Penrod truly is. This isn't just about a singer having a medical procedure. This is about a man whose identity has long been built on being the strong one, the voice of hope, the person others lean on. Born on July 2, 1963 in Taylor, Texas, Penrod didn't stumble into gospel music. He was born into it. But a preacher for author and a singer for a mother. Music and faith weren't just part of his childhood. They were the foundation of his entire life. Many people don't realize how significant his journey became. After he joined the Gaither Vocal Band in 1994, he didn't just enter any musical group. He entered a legacy. The Gaither Vocal Band was already one of the most respected names in gospel music, and Penrod's unmistakable voice quickly made him a standout star. For nearly 20 years, he didn't just sing songs. He shaped a generation of gospel music fans. His performances were more than concerts. People attended because they wanted to feel something powerful, something transformative. Then came 2013 and Penrod made a decision that many considered controversial. He left the Gaither Vocal Band to pursue a solo career in the gospel music world. Leaving a group like the Gaithers isn't just a career. Sure, it's a bold statement. Some fans felt betrayed, convinced he had abandoned what the group represented. Social media erupted with some accusing him of choosing ego over ministry. But those critics missed the truth. Sometimes the hardest choices are the ones you must make to save yourself. His decision to go solo wasn't about abandoning anything. It was about growth, about discovering and developing his own artistic voice, and that required courage. As a solo artist, every responsibility fell directly on him. Every note, every performance, every message. Yet his solo career thrived. His albums found success. Tours continued selling out, and he proved that his voice could stand strong independently, but that level of success carried a cost that rarely gets discussed, especially in Christian entertainment, where artists are expected to have endless strength and unwavering answers. The pressure is constant. You aren't just the are the entire brand, and here's the harsh truth that ties directly to his hard issues. Your body doesn't care about schedules, tours, or expectations. When it demands rest, you either listen or it forces you to. Penrod had been experiencing warning signs, chest pain, heaviness, and symptoms helically brushed aside many times because it was busy, committed, or unwilling to disappoint his fans. But eventually, the symptoms became impossible to ignore. He paid attention at the critical moment. That decision saved his life. Doctors discovered he needed a stent. A small mesh tube inserted into a blocked artery to improve blood flow. It's a common procedure, but when it's your own heart, nothing about it feels routine. His team immediately canceled for solo concerts, leaving fans stunned but deeply concerned. And instead of anger or disappointment, something extraordinary happened. Fans everywhere began posting prayers, encouragement, and support. Social media became a global circle of compassion. Penrod, instead of hiding behind vague statements, chose transparency. He shared his fears, his gratitude, and his determination to return stronger. In doing so, he gave his fans something far more meaningful than any performance: permission to be human, to acknowledge weakness, and to prioritize health. The surgery was successful, blood flow was restored, but the recovery period became a much-needed pause in a life that had been moving at full speed for decades. When you're Guy Penrod, when your entire identity is tied to being the voice, the performer, what happens when you can't rely on any of that? Who are you when you're forced to rest? This is the existential crisis every high achiever faces when health collapses. During his recovery, Penrod had to embrace a different kind of rest. Not the short breaks between shows, but deep confronting rest, a kind that makes you examine your life, your priorities, your faith, and your mortality. His faith, which he had sung about for years, now became something he had to leave in its most vulnerable form. It's easy to proclaim faith when everything's just going well. It's harder when you're healing from heart surgery and unsure about or your future. Penrod's journey also includes the story of his family. His marriage to Angie in 1990 and their 8 children reflect a life intentionally built around values. Despite fame, the demanding nature of a music career, the Penrods managed to maintain a grounded family life, something rare in the entertainment world. Several of his children have even performed on stage with him, carrying the family's musical legacy forward. This health scare wasn't just about Azinger's career. It was about a husband, a father, and the emotional center of a large family who relies on him deeply. Now, there's another layer of complexity: controversy. In recent years, Penrod has made public statements about faith, politics, and social issues, including topics like LGBT rights. His conservative Christian views have sparked passionate debates. Some fans admire his boldness and his refusal to compromise his beliefs for popularity. Others feel wounded, believing his message of unconditional love should extend more inclusively. This tension is real and ongoing. Interestingly, his health crisis didn't soften or shift his beliefs. Instead, facing his own mortality seemed to reinforce his conviction that living authentically, even when controversial, is more important than seeking universal approval. Whether people agree with him or not, there is something undeniably powerful about a person who stands firmly in their convictions, especially at a moment when many would choose comfort or silence. Even if you disagree with his positions, the question remains: how many of us are honestly willing to stand by our convictions when it truly costs us something? How many people have the courage to say, "This is what I believe. This is who I am," even when speaking those words might mean losing fans, losing opportunities, or losing the approval of the crowd? For many, that level of honesty feels too expensive. But for others, like Penrod, it becomes a defining moment that reveals who they really are beneath the applause. The heart surgery added an entirely new layer to that conversation. When you are lying in a hospital bed hooked up to machines, when you are staring at the possibility that you might not get another chance to speak, to sing, or to share your message with the world, you begin to ask yourself what is truly worth fighting for. And for Penrod, the answer became clearer than ever. His faith, his family, and his music were his non-negotiables. Everything else, the criticism, the controversy, the debates swirling around his choices, felt secondary compared to Toto's core commitments. Yet a deeper lingering question remains, one that reaches far beyond Penrod's personal situation. Is it possible to be authentic and uncompromising in your beliefs, while still being compassionate and open toward people who see the world differently? Can you stand firm in your convictions without standing on other people? This tension runs through Penrod's life and career, and it mirrors the same struggle many of us face in our own lives. Even if our stage is much smaller, and our audience far more limited, what makes his recovery even more extraordinary is the support system surrounding him. Angie, his wife of more than 3 decades, stood with him through every moment, every doctor's update, every night of uncertainty, every step in the long healing process. Their relationship has been described by those close to them as a genuine partnership built on mutual respect, shared faith, and a deep commitment to weathering storms together. A marriage like that doesn't happen by accident. During his recovery, that foundation mattered more than ever. When you are vulnerable, frightened, and unsure of what comes next, having someone who knows you completely, someone who loves you not for what you do, but for who you are, be everything. And the fans, despite any previous controversies, showed up too. The response to his surgery was overwhelmingly compassionate. Prayer circles formed across communities. Messages of support flooded social media. People who didn't agree with every opinion he held still recognized that a human being was suffering. And in moments like these, our shared humanity outweighs our differences. This response says something hopeful about us as people, even in a world that often feels divided. We still have the capacity to put aside disagreements and simply care. As the weeks passed, and Penrod shared updates about his recovery, he didn't hide behind polished statements. Instead, he offered honest reflections about fear, gratitude, frustration, and the humbling reality of being forced to slow down. He spoke openly about the possibility that his pace had become unsustainable, and that perhaps his buddy's rebellion was not a punishment, but a gift, a warning signal delivered just in time, giving him the chance to make changes and preserve his life. This message extends far beyond gospel music or celebrity status. It speaks to anyone who is listening. Your body is not your enemy. Those warning signs, the exhaustion you push through, the pain you ignore are not inconveniences. They are messages. They are your body's way of saying, "I'm fighting for you, but I need your help." Penrod's decision to be transparent, to share not just the successful surgery, but also the setbacks, the slow progress, and the patient's recovery required was an act of leadership. He used his platform not to project perfection, but to show what it means to be human, to struggle, to need help, and to accept limitations in a culture that glorifies constant grinding and praises those who sacrifice everything for success. His message becomes almost revolutionary. It says clearly, "Your worth is not measured by productivity. Resting doesn't diminish your value. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's essential." Before canceled concerts, which at first brought frustration and disappointment, eventually became symbols of something far more meaningful. They became proof that even someone whose livelihood depends on showing up and performing canine should choose health first. Those cancellations became permission slips for fans dealing with their own health issues, encouraging them to prioritize themselves. If Guy Penrod, known for his strength and reliability, could admit he needed help and take time to heal, then maybe they could too. Maybe all of us can. That is the deeper value in this story. The part that often gets lost when we focus only on the drama of surgery and the relief of recovery. The real story is the permission it gives every one of us to be human, to be vulnerable, to listen to our bodies, to choose life over performance. As Penrod continues recovering and looks toward returning to the stage, it's clear that a transformation happening within him isn't only physical. There is an emotional and spiritual renewal taking place, the kind that only comes when life forces you to stop and reevaluate everything. His connection with his family has deepened. His appreciation for his wife and children, already strong, has grown even richer. His understanding of what it truly means to lead with faith rather than simply sing about it has become more grounded